Hello! I'm live. How's everybody? What's everybody up to today? We're going to have a very special live today. We're going live from Georgia. I'm going to be talking to Mary Pat Hector. She's an organizer down in Georgia. And I need this request. Make that request again. Hold on, I'm slow. There's a lot of requests. Don't everybody request. You all can't be on it. Hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna figure it out. There she is. Okay. Her.
I made it. How are
There you
you?
are. I haven't done a live in a while, and I feel like the whole app changed since the last time I did one.
Well,
So
I want to thank you for allowing me to join you today.
I'm excited to have you. Introduce yourself to everyone. Tell them what you do and why your role is so important right now in the Georgia runoff election.
Absolutely. My name is Mary Pat Hector. I am the Georgia program coordinator at risefree.org, as well as the state coordinator for Black Youth Vote Georgia. And more importantly, I'm just a concerned Black woman in the state of Georgia who understands that this particular election is not only important for us in Georgia, but literally the entire country.
Tell everybody why this election is so important. What is on the line right
Absolutely. Well, we've seen over the course of the past few years that elections have consequences. And throughout the course of the summer, I, like many young people, have been organizing and mobilizing across the country in Louisville, Kentucky, and in the city of Atlanta to bring awareness to issues impacting Black and Brown people in this country. And I understand that if this Senate race does not happen the way I'm hoping it will, then we won't see police reform in this country. We won't see reform when it comes to student debt in this country. There are a lot of issues that we are literally fighting for, even basic health care
now?
in the state of Georgia. You know, if this Senate election does not take place like it should, and we don't turn out and show up to vote again, then we could really face some serious consequences. And I'm not willing to take that chance.
Some people might say, well, I already voted in the presidential election and I got the outcome that I wanted. Why should I care so much about the Senate? Please explain to everyone what the role of the Senate is in determining how our lives are lived.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, I'm going to take it back, right?
Uh-huh.
We need our Senate because, or really, our government is pretty much like a balance of power.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like a triangle. So to ensure that our president is doing what he's supposed to be doing, we have our Senate. And to ensure that our Senate doesn't have too much power, we have our Supreme Court, we have, of course, the president, and they really all just balance each other out.
Yeah.
But what we saw during, I'll say, President Obama's term is when we had a Senate that did not really agree with President Obama. And despite many of the policies that he tried to push forward, they would always vote against it.
Exactly.
Well, again, when we talk about things like criminal justice reform or college affordability and student debt forgiveness, these are plans that the current president-elect and vice president-elect are saying they want to bring awareness to and change. But if they don't have a Senate that's willing to meet them where they are, then these things will continue to be pretty much knocked down, and we won't really see change in this country for another 4 years.
So if we don't see change in the Senate, just to put a finer point on it, the current majority leader will stay the majority leader. And if you guys recall, the current majority leader, when Obama first got elected, he said his express goal, his main priority as majority leader was to make sure not country would heal, not that the country would grow, not that the country would do well, not that people's lives would be improved. His main goal was to make Obama a one-term president. He said that out loud. Uh, a lot of times they're thinking it, but they don't say it out loud. But he told everybody his goal, his priority was to ruin things, to obstruct things, to make it more difficult for progress to be made. And the only priority he had over the past couple years, after he got the tax cuts for rich people that he wanted, his only other priority was getting a bunch of right-wing judges into office all around the country in our federal courts. He did very little and continues to do very little to help with the pandemic relief. There's legislation waiting for him to push through the Senate right now to provide much needed relief to people who are struggling. People are out of jobs. People are hungry. People are dying out there. And he's not willing to provide the relief people need because he's playing politics and not thinking about what will help the American people. So that's really what's at stake. Changing that majority leader into a minority leader will make a big difference.
Absolutely. And, when people were having these conversations a few months ago, I said, we've seen how or where the current president stood on these issues, but we also have seen where the current senators in the state of Georgia stand on these issues. And they're not in the favor of marginalized people on the ground that look like me or you. And so, again, we've seen how they care or what they'll do when it comes to healthcare. Nothing. We've seen what they'll do when it comes to pandemic relief. Absolutely nothing. We've seen what they'll do when it comes to student loan forgiveness and criminal justice reform. And that is absolutely nothing. And so it's time for us to give new leadership a chance.
We've seen what they'll do when it comes to betting against the American people in the stock market as well. When they were given information about what was going to happen with the pandemic, instead of providing the relief that Americans needed, they were providing their pocketbooks by making sure they bet in the stock market based on the knowledge that they were getting in the Senate, rather than using that knowledge to help the American people. They used it to help themselves. It's clear where their priorities lie, and the only way to change that is to change who's in office. So let's talk the nuts and bolts of the election. What's happening in Georgia right now? What can people do who are registered to vote? The deadline to register has already passed. So what can people do? One, to check to make sure they're registered. Two, to actually vote either early or by mail. And then when's the last day of voting?
Absolutely. So the last day to early vote is December 31st. If you can't make it to vote between now and December 31st, you can always show up on election day and vote January 5th. You can still be requesting your absentee ballots now. I'm encouraging people to drop those absentee ballots off at drop boxes.
Don't put
Other things,
mail.
yeah, or of course at your mailbox. Other things that you all can be doing is signing up to be election protection monitors. Currently, we're working with the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda that are currently training young people to become and serve as election protection monitors. At RISE, we are hosting trainings where young people are learning how to be election protection workers, because we need more young people to take on these positions. That's where we're seeing mass lines, because we don't have enough election workers, because mainly those workers have always been older individuals. And now we're in the midst of a pandemic and numbers are rising in Georgia. And so we are not getting as many poll workers as we need. So of course that. And we are also just on the grounds, like literally like knocking on doors, again, of course, safely with our mask on. But at this point, it's just what we have to do. Going into communities like Macon, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, for the past few weeks, the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, Black Youth Vote, RISE, and a few other organizations have been going into these rural counties, literally knocking on doors and doing lit drops. And what we're learning is a lot of people don't even know that there's an election coming up, or they don't understand the significance or the importance of this upcoming election. So yeah, we're going to continue to do like virtual events, but when it comes to going into those rural parts of the state, because I feel like when people think Georgia, they think of Atlanta. No, like we literally have to go into places where there are no broadband, right,
Yeah.
in Georgia, and say, listen, there is an election. We need you to turn up and vote again. But I believe in Black women and I believe in young people. They turned up in November when people were only thinking about Pennsylvania and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we were like, listen, we're here. So we need to prove the world that the South has something to say on January
Has
5th.
something to say. As
Absolutely.
3000 once, let everybody know. Now, question. What made you get into this kind of work? Like what motivated you to do it, and why you? Why did you choose to be in this position, using your own personal influence to do what you can to make change in Georgia?
Absolutely. So growing up on the east side of Atlanta, like I grew up and I saw violence and I saw, just so many different things impacting my community. And I knew that I didn't want to be another statistic. I knew that I wanted more. And so I got involved in a lot of just different issues on the ground. And beyond that, just becoming a community advocate and an advocate, a community advocate, I realized that, there has to be more that we can do. So when I was a sophomore at Spelman, it was actually the first time that I voted.
Oh,
And my first voting experience was the last presidential election in 2016. And it was not the best experience, I'll say personally.
yeah.
And I ended up running for office. And I became the youngest woman and person of color to run at the age of 19. And I lost by 22 votes. And I promised myself that whenever I would help someone run again, they would win by those 22.
Uh-huh.
But beyond that, it was time for young people to realize that yes, we can bring awareness to issues on the ground, but we also have to understand how powerful we could be if we had that seat at the table through policy. We should be doing both.
Yeah.
And so beyond that, I got involved with GCPA. I got involved with Black Youth Vote and Rise. And now I'm working with young people on the ground every day to say, you know what, if you can work on people's campaigns, if you can knock on these doors, you can run for office. And beyond that, you have a voice. And so if we need to go to Washington and lobby, then that's what we need to do. If we need to hold, we also just need to hold these people accountable, not only in the streets, but at the table. And so that's what really got me involved in wanting to do this type of work. And now I've just decided to commit my entire life to it.
Amazing. And just so everybody knows, what she's talking about is really acting locally, because so much of what we want done when it comes to criminal justice reform, when it comes to housing desegregation, when it comes to how our schools are run, when it comes to how our neighborhoods are zoned, so much of those decisions are made on a local level. And there are a lot of people that aren't engaged in local politics. And so the ones that are engaged, they get their voices heard, because it's not a big, it's not a huge group of folks that are getting involved on a local level. So that's why at Free America, my organization, we talk a lot about district attorney elections. We talk a lot about local elections that will have an impact on the way people's lives are lived. And what you're talking about is exactly that, is getting involved on a local level. And you'd be surprised how much impact you can have on the way your community's lives are lived, because what's happening locally will have a huge impact on them.
Absolutely. So I'm just so excited to see what young people in Georgia are going to do on January the 5th. And I'm just so excited to make history again.
Absolutely. And we have to say, first of all, thank you to you and to all the other organizers out there who got people out to vote. We should celebrate what happened in November. It was a monumental achievement. It was one that was not expected by a lot of political pundits. It was something that hadn't happened in a long time. And that shows right there the impact of organizing, of turning out, getting people out there to vote, of not giving up on a state just because it's been red for a long time. And the only way to complete that task and make sure that the Senate is able to reflect the will of the people is for everybody to show up and show out in Georgia in January, or in December, voting early leading up to that. So thank you so much for talking with me. Thank you so much for dedicating your life to making a difference in Georgia. Your impact is going to be felt all around the country and all around the world because Georgia is that influential. And so we appreciate you deciding that you were going to not just sit back and be upset about what's happening, but actually go out there and do something about it. We appreciate that. And we encourage anybody who lives in Georgia, anybody who has family in Georgia. I know every Black person has at least one family in Georgia. I do. Make sure that you tell your relatives to get out there and vote, and make sure they know the deadlines, make sure they know the impact that this election will have. Do you have any final words?
No, listen, like I said before, and like Andre 3000 said, like the South literally has something to say. We can
Yes.
no longer afford to sit on the sidelines. I just want to thank the young people who have literally shown us time and time again that they are the future of our generation. You are. We literally are depending on you, not just the state again, but the country to turn out again on January the 5th and vote. I believe that we're truly going to make a difference, but we have to push a little bit more. And I just, again, want to thank you for allowing us to speak on your platform and share what's happening here in our state.
Well, we're honored to have you speak here. We are honored to know all the hard work that you're doing and that you took a moment to speak with us. Mary Pat, we really, truly appreciate you and wish you all the best, wish you good health, wish you a wonderful holiday. And we know there's a lot of work still to be done. And we thank you in advance for all the work you're going to continue to do. And I'm just so excited for you and your future because this is not the end for you. The fact that you've dedicated your life to making a change and making a difference, I see really great things in your future happening. So I'm excited to see your story evolve. Thank you for spending some time with me, Mary Pat. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Bye.